Good morning. Welcome to Unity Longmont Spiritual Center on the 14th of May, 2023. It's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. And we are blessed to have Christina Hildebrandt to provide music today. Happy Mother's Day, Christina. And I am Dava Money, and I will be speaking and leading meditation today. So let's start with Christina.
Happy Mother's Day, Hester.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Hester. So it's at this time that we go into prayer by taking a breath together. Beloved presence, everywhere present, we join today on Mother's Day, grateful to be mothered and grateful to mother. We pause in our day today to express gratitude for the love that we have experienced, that we have received, that we have given. Gratitude to the love that is divine and is found within each of us, since we are expressions of the divine. And with that knowledge, we breathe easily, we experience peace within, and we bring our loving kindness to ourselves and the world. And so it is. And we will hear from Christina. Thank you, Christina. So it is Mother's Day, and I have this recognition. I can't really speak to you until I'm inspired. And so knowing that it would be Mother's Day, I looked for inspiration outside of myself. I went to see what Charles Fillmore said about Mother's Day. I went to see what Eric Butterworth said about Mother's Day. And those were precious things, and they were especially perfect for those moments in which they happened. But it didn't get the spark in me ignited that I was looking for. So I dabbled here and there, still searching outside of myself for that inspiration. And then early evening last night, something came to me with a kind of revelatory energy. And I imagine this is not a new idea. I just haven't seen it elsewhere. And so that is what I'm going to talk about today. I will share that with you and see if it resonates. When we gather together, one of the things that we are usually doing is taking a pause to remember who and what we are. So again, I looked outside myself for inspiration and landed on the mystic Meister Eckhart, who says it so much better than I can. To get at the core of God at his greatest, one must first get into the core of himself at his least. For no one can know God who has not first known himself. No one can know God who has not first known himself. This core is a simple stillness which is unmoved itself, but by whose immobility all things are moved and all receive life. That is to say, all people who live by reason and have their center within themselves. The eye by which I see God is the same eye by which God sees me. The eye by which I see God is the same eye by which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one and the same, one in seeing, one in knowing, and one in loving. If it is true that God became man, it is also true that man became God. And so you haven't got to borrow from God, for he is your own, and therefore, whatever you get from yourself. So what is Mother's Day? It's a time when we stop to celebrate those who have given birth to us, and those of us who give birth. Every one of us, regardless of our gender, gives birth. Every one of us is born with creativity, is a certain kind of loving force that needs to be released. We can feel it building up inside of us, and it needs to come out. And that may come out in something artful and beautiful. It may come out in words. It may come out in actions. So each and every time that we offer kindness, that is giving birth. That is mothering. Each of us has the choice, every moment, every second, every breath. Do we mother in this moment? And I don't mean just mothering the other. I mean mothering ourselves. As human beings, we are born to a human mother. Each and every one of those women are unique. Each and every one of those women had certain gifts, certain skills, and certain limitations. I know as a mother, I do. And so sometimes growing up as a human being, we may have some longings to be fulfilled that may not have been fulfilled in our childhood. The good news is we can fulfill those needs. We can use our own inner mother to fulfill those needs. And as we do, we grow as a person. We share even more light with each other. So Hildebrandt said, "The most beautiful word on the lips of mankind is the word mother. And the most beautiful call is the call of my mother. It is a word full of hope and love, a sweet and kind word coming from the depths of the heart. The mother is everything. She is our consolation in sorrow, our hope in misery, and our strength in weakness. She is the source of love, mercy, sympathy, and forgiveness. Everything in nature bespeaks the mother. The sun is the mother of earth and gives it its nourishment of heart. It never leaves the universe at night until it has put the earth to sleep to the song of the sea and the hymn of birds and brooks. And this earth is the mother of trees and flowers. It produces them, nurses them, and weans them. The trees and flowers become kind mothers of their great fruits and seeds. And the mother, the prototype of all existence, is the eternal spirit full of beauty and love." So I found that quote late last night, and it touches on the inspiration that came to me. Jesus called the Divine Father Abba. He had a very intimate relationship with all that is. So I'm curious, who's mom? Who's the mother? And what struck me is I think our soul is our true mother. I don't know how often you think about soul. I do think about it, but maybe not enough. So what is a soul? A soul is our eternal self. It is a part of the whole, and yet contains everything of the whole. That's a little hard to wrap our heads around sometimes. One of the ways I can think about it is our soul has all the attributes of the divine with just less power. You know, we often use the ocean as a description of all that is, of the divine. And we are a drop of that ocean. And in each drop is all that the ocean contains. It's just smaller. So years ago, I discovered The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav, and it became my Bible for a long time. So some of what I'm going to talk about today is drawing on his work. The individual unit of our evolution is the soul. So that sounds to me like human beings, as all species, are always evolving. And it is the soul that drives that evolution. And the body is the instrument of the soul. So our soul uses our body, our personality in this lifetime for it to evolve and for the species to evolve. He says the true purpose of human experience is the health of the soul. What does that mean, the health of the soul? Think for a moment. What is soul? What is health? I think in part health is wholeness. I think in part health is love, the essence of love, forgiveness, generosity. So I think the soul is our mother, and that in our lifetime we are called to mother our soul. If our soul is seeking greater wholeness or health, what can we do to support that? We can draw on the attributes of motherhood and share that with our soul through a growing awareness of what our soul is. How do we know our soul? We are born into this world as a sensory being. We have 5 senses. We get to know ourselves and our world through those senses. In Unity, we call that sense consciousness. And it serves us to navigate this earthly world. What we also do in this life as a species is evolve toward being a multisensory being. That's a word Gary Zukav uses. A multisensory being begins to rely more and more on intuition. That is the knowing, the understanding of that which is not seen, that which doesn't come through our senses. That is the communication from our soul. And it comes as love, and it comes as knowing, it comes as wisdom. And we can cultivate and facilitate that evolution by raising our consciousness. We don't ignore the sense consciousness, it's here for a reason. And we begin to pay even more attention to the intuition, that small, still, quiet voice within. And each of us may experience our own intuitions differently, but we know it when it's there. It's like a hit, it's a spark. And it's something often for me, something beyond words. It's just an inner knowing. I think that part of what we are to do here as humans evolving is to contribute to our world. And if we think about it, every single action, even every movement, is contributing something to our world. I have shared recently that I keep having this image of myself in the sea swimming, kind of like a turtle, and an awareness that every time I flail, which I do more frequently than I wish, I'm impacting not just myself, but anything else in the ocean, especially those near to me. The ocean, and probably our world, is made of currents. And part of our opportunity as a soul is to tune into the currents of energy in our human life and in the larger world. And we know when we've done that, there's a grace and there's an ease that comes with our decision making, that comes with our relationships. I can't speak for you, but I know I have dipped into that. And then I jump out. How do I jump out? Why do I jump out? It's fear. It's fear. So there is divine order. And the divine order is about everything moving toward unfoldment or fulfillment of divinity. And if we think about the Garden of Eden and leaving, that's a great metaphor for how, as a species, as we begin to develop and use our five senses, we begin to experience doubt. We begin to experience worry, anxiety, fear, and we begin to experience preferences. Oh, I like this better than that. And I know in myself, when I have a strong preference and it's not happening, I can get pretty stubborn about making it happen with my very limited power. And that causes suffering. So each of us, and hopefully the world, is at a place where we can begin to choose, not out of fear, but out of love. Remembering our essence is love. It's there even when we are fearful. So how do we manage this fear? Some of how we manage it is to acknowledge it, to acknowledge to ourselves what we are feeling. And boy, does that take some patience, some skill to sit with our feelings and ride them out. They are a form of energy. And when we're willing to do that, when we're willing to really experience what we're feeling, that leads to transformation. That gives us the opportunity to leave behind, to release, to let go of that difficulty. It takes a lot of practice. And the benefits are enormous. So as humans, I know I, and probably many people I know, continue to make choices out of fear. Oh my God, this is happening. What am I going to do? We start to diminish our power. We start to diminish what we can even know. And we make a decision. And that decision may lead to suffering of some kind. That's where forgiveness comes in. Forgiveness is an aspect of the soul. Forgiveness is the letting go of the baggage of something we have done to ourselves or others have done to us. So intuition plays a huge part in this. You know, we get caught up in a fear, we get caught up in making a decision. What is helpful is to pause, to be still, and hear that still voice within us. Because that's where the wisdom is, that's where the answers are, regardless of what we have made of our life. It's never too late to do that. And as humans, as myself, I have to keep doing it over and over again. It's not a place I live in yet. I don't know if I ever will. That's the goal, to do that. So our souls, that essence, that expression of divinity, cannot tolerate brutality, lies, non-forgiveness, jealousies, hatreds, poisons. That steals the soul of its health and well-being when we as humans cultivate, when we create that. So that's part of how we mother the soul. Pay attention to when we're doing that. Be with it. Let it leave us. Let it be diminished. Let us come back to the love that we are. So those things, those actions that we do, those thoughts that we create, that can be deleterious, is that a word? to us and to our soul, one of the reasons that is happening, and when we see it in other people, we might be able to see this more clearly, is that is a call for help. When we see somebody who is suffering, who is making poor choices, who is whatever, sometimes our initial response is to feel judgment, to experience judgment about that person. Because aren't we afraid that we have that within us, and we do? What we are called to do to Mother in that moment is to see past that, to see the divinity in that person, to not shrink away, to not judge, but to love. And so when someone is suffering, that behavior, those actions, those thoughts, those self-perceptions are a call for help. I never thought about that as a call for help from the soul until last night when Gary Zukav expresses it. So again, divine order is in place to help everything move toward wholeness, health, well-being. So individually, maybe we can make a choice in this moment, and then again and again, to choose from love. And that includes love for ourselves. Whatever we don't love in ourselves, because of our human brain, our human chemistry, we project that part onto another. Even if they don't have that part, we see them as that. And then we judge them. So there's this pattern, this habit that can begin. So one of the things we can do to Mother, ourselves, our soul, and each other is when we are judging another, let us pause. Let us say, what am I judging in that person? Identify it. And where within me is that? And how do I love that within me? Oh, the lightness of being that comes from that is enormous. And we'll do it again and again. So what happens as we do this, as we take these steps to Mother, ourself, and our soul? We become more powerful. Think for a moment about power and what power means to you. Is it a scary word? I know personally I have sometimes been afraid to be more powerful because I am afraid of harming another inadvertently. What we know is that a healthy soul does not harm. The power is the energy that is formed from the intention of the soul. So remember, the essence and the energy of the soul is love. So the more connected we are to the soul, the more we mother each other, us mother the soul mother us, the more loving we become. And we won't harm. We'll be making decisions out of love. Have you ever noticed that there is a continual exchange of energy between beings? Each time we are around someone, we're putting energy out and we are receiving energy. I think an easy way to see and experience that is look into the eyes of your pet. And if you don't have a pet, look into the eyes of another animal. We can feel that affection back and forth. That's happening all the time. And what we're emanating isn't always affection. That's the goal, right? To come back to that love. So when we become more empowered, we start to develop certain attributes. Being humble. Humble means being inclusive and responding to the beauty of each soul. Honoring all of life. Causing no harm. Not asking for more than what is needed. Freedom to love, freedom to be self. Giving joyously. Not even having to think about it. It's just, here you go. This is from me, from my soul to you. Forgiving self and others. Assuming responsibility for our own experiences. Whatever happens in our life, the power we have is to choose how we respond to it. We can become a victim or we can become victorious. This power brings clarity of thinking and wisdom. It allows us to choose responsibly. It allows us to be compassionate with ourselves and others. And we see the divine order. Even when things are hard, we see that, this is something that needs to unfold. Now, how do I respond to it? How can I be loving in this moment? As people become more authentically powerful, or powerful might not be the best word, but experience and express power, they tend to be buoyant and cheerful and joyous and have a purpose in life and aware of that purpose. Each of us come to this earth with certain gifts. Think for a moment, what does the word gift mean to you? There are all kinds of gifts. Some people come with talents to produce something. Some people come with the talent to support another in the production of something. Let us each discover what our gifts are and practice those and cultivate them and share them with the world. Again, because each and every decision impacts the whole. As a being like a turtle swimming in this ocean, I have a growing awareness of the aliveness of everything. Everything is alive. And each of us as live beings is impacted by that and impacting that. So I believe, and this is just my own belief, although shared by others, that we may have a sacred contract that we enter into before this incarnation. When things are hard for me, I like to think, when I made that contract, I knew more then than I do now. So how do I rest into what's happening right now and have a recognition, because of divine order, that I'm working through something that is going to benefit my soul. Whatever benefits our soul benefits everyone, doesn't it? There's a quote by Gary Zukav: grace is the tranquilizer of the soul. Grace. I did a talk on grace recently, and it's one of my very favorite words. Grace. There's such peace and ease in grace. We each deserve that. It is available to each of us. And so it is. So I invite us in this moment to go into a meditation and use this time however it serves you. What I'm going to suggest is that you might ask yourself some questions like, if I have a soul, what is it like? What is its purpose? What does it want? What feeds it? And how does having a soul affect my life? So essentially, how do I allow myself to be mothered by soul, and how do I mother my soul? And as we sit with that, or whatever comes to you, Christina will provide us with music. Thank you. It's at this time that we go into what we call our donation of love and light. By taking a breath and being fully aware of our bodies, our minds, our hearts, and our souls. Aware of the love and the light within us, that divinity, that spark of divinity. By focusing on it, we may notice it expands. We can allow that expansion and allow this love and this light to be shared. Perhaps if you know of someone who's suffering, you might hold them in your heart for a moment and share this love and light. One of the things we notice is that as we share this, it is not diminished. It continues to grow. This is one of the many ways we can mother. We can choose to do this at any time. And so it is. And we will finish with Christina.